McHargue, there he is, ESPN CBS College football analyst. What's up, brother?
What's up, guys? How are we? Thanks for having me on.
Dude, thanks for joining us. I want to get right to it. We got so much going on in college football now, and all this crazy stuff we're talking about, like with Caitlin Clark and social media. But now we're a month away. I mean, next month is college football, brother. So I got to talk to you, a gunslinger, about quarterbacks in the Big 12. My first question is this esteemed class that's coming in this year, or that's going to be this put together and will be taking the field this year. Do you feel like this is the best quarterback group in a conference in the country?
I think I would put them up against any other league in the country in terms of the total depth of the league. We were just at the Manning camp this past weekend, and one of the things that we talked a lot about was just high level how solid the quarterback depth is as compared to last year's class. All right, you had last year's draft class, I thought showed pretty well that it really wasn't a very deep class. Guys like Shador Sanders and Quinn Ewers slipping late in the draft that I think a lot of people thought were going to go higher than that. The Big 12 this year, you've got a couple things. You have a number of guys that are projected to be high round draft picks the following year in 2026, but also you've got a lot of guys that have returning action. They've played before, they've played meaningful snaps and starts under their belts, and got to see a number of these guys throw last weekend at the Manning camp. And I would say for the health of the league overall, yeah, there's a lot to be excited about with some of these returning starters coming back in the Big 12.
My man Todd McShay was already banging the drum for Sawyer Robertson, just mentioning how he really impressed at the Manning camp. What was the buzz around him there?
Yeah, I got to. We lost to him in 7-on-7. My team got annihilated, but I got a chance to spend a little time with him, and big, strong, athletic guy. These guys are all running around throwing in t-shirts and shorts, and they all look good from that perspective. But I enjoyed getting to visit with him as a person. Seems like a really mature kid from Lubbock, Texas, and was somebody that would be easy to pull for. And you go back to his performance last season. I mean, best QBR in the Big 12, and we talk about those meaningful snaps. I think that's going to translate well for him going into this 2025 season. But that was somebody that you could tell had a lot of respect from his peers. Enjoyed getting to visit with him, and again, just an easy person to pull for.
I knew you were there. I didn't know you were coaching a team. So who was your squad?
Oh man, my team was the Riders. We were not very good. I think we won one game over the 3-day camp, but and I can't even say we had great effort. This was we did our best though.
What was the best moment for you, the most interesting moment that you weren't expecting that happened at the Manning camp? Something fun.
Yeah, we had a chance to. John Gruden was there, Coach Gruden, and gave an awesome speech to the staff just on where the sport is at and how difficult, whether you're a high school coach, college coach, if you're somebody in the media, whatever, it's an interesting time in the sport, right? And with the portal and how much things have changed just in the last 5 or 6 years. But he talked a lot about still how amazing this game is. It's the best team sport in the world, and that we all need to have that love for the sport. And Pete, I know you do. I know I certainly do. And these coaches that were in the room, it was one of those speeches where you get that from Coach Gruden, and you want to go out and play, or you want to go out and coach, or have your game right after that. Because man, he's still got that fire. Ends every speech with "Knock if you're with me," going back to the Hard Knocks days. But he was awesome.
He's got you thinking about winning another conference title out
That's
there
right.
in Houston. All right, Avery Johnson. It's exciting to see the possible development, further development for him this year under Matt Wells, new offensive coordinator at Kansas State. How do you think that'll impact his performance?
Yeah, got to see Avery Johnson last year in their bowl game. I had the bowl game with them at Chase Field and with ESPN Radio. And for Avery Johnson, I think it's a couple things. Number one, he's certainly one of the top five athletes at the quarterback position at the country. He may be the best athlete at the quarterback position in the country. I think for Avery Johnson, it comes down to decision making on plays when it's not there, right? Trying to make too much happen in situations, and that's true for a lot of young quarterbacks, right? You want to make too much happen, make plays happen off script when you're that the level of athlete that he is. I think that's where you'll see some maturity come from Avery Johnson. But make no mistake about it, this is a Player of the Year in the Big 12 caliber athlete. It wouldn't surprise me. You want to talk about dark horse Heisman contention? I mean, he's got that level of ability. And if Kansas State goes on a run, if this becomes a playoff team and he steps his game up and elevates from where he was last year, this absolutely is a guy from a talent standpoint that could be a Heisman finalist.
How much, in your experience as a quarterback playing at Rice, I'm not quite sure about the consistency you had at OC, but how much can that affect a quarterback? Like that kind of change, like, okay, a brand new offensive coordinator who can help mold me. Is it harder at times, or is it always beneficial?
Yeah, it really depends on situation. I would say in general, you want to have consistency. I think that's true across the board. I think there are certain instances where a new OC comes in, and depending on what level of success you had previously or how they were coached, sometimes it's a better situation. And maybe not even necessarily X's and O's, but how is that OC communicating with their quarterback? Are they doing everything they can to prop that guy up, make them feel confident? And that remains to be seen. It's talking season right now. It's easy for every team to have a lot of belief and faith in what's going to happen in this fall. But for Avery Johnson, again, to me, I feel like being around him a little bit, that's a very confident player. He knows the ability that he has. I think for me, it's going to again come down to how does he handle not trying to make too much out of plays when it's not there. And regardless of the OC, that's something that just comes with maturity. But in general, yeah, you would love to have. I had three OCs in 4 years as a player. I would have loved to have had just one the entire time because I think in general, kind of rule of thumb, you would love to have that consistency.
All right, we talked to your CBS Sports teammate last week, Shahan Jayaraja, about what Texas Tech has done this offseason with help from guys like Cody Campbell, infusing resources into that program. Baron Morton, though, is at the head of the snake. I mean, you've got all these brand new toys coming into town, but you still have Baron Morton coming back from an injury, and I would imagine playing under a lot of pressure this year, whether it's warranted or not. What does he have to do this year for Texas Tech to reach their full potential? Because quarterback's the most important position on the field, regardless of how good everybody else is.
Yeah, I think from a pure passing standpoint, I think this Baron Morton may have an opportunity to be the best in the league in terms of being a passer, right? We just talked about Avery Johnson and his athletic ability, but this is Baron Morton's third season in this offense, and I had them a few years ago when Tyler Shuck was still on campus, and Baron Morton, they didn't know what they had in him, but they knew that he was this prolific high school passer. I think you've seen him grow up over the last few years, and you talked about coming off that injury a year ago. But this is a guy, another example in the Big 12 of somebody that has meaningful snaps. He's played a lot of football at this point, and the success that he did have last year throwing the football, his accuracy down the field, I think this could be, again, I'll say again, maybe the best pure passer in the league.
Where does BYU go from here? It's a loaded question, but I got to ask you.
Man, for who they have on campus, I think it's wide open. I think you're going to see, and if I'm BYU, I'm holding this all the way until their opener against Sac State. And don't be surprised if you see a number of guys get reps through their non-conference schedule. They host Stanford after that. They have a sneaky, tough road trip to East Carolina. I think that is a game that they absolutely should win. But don't be surprised if they get all the way to league play before they've really settled on a guy. But for any program, right? This is the worst scenario, whether it's through an injury or the portal. You go into this offseason really feeling confident about your quarterback position and feel like, and maybe we've got a really good shot at getting back to college football playoff. And now you look up and say, man, we've got a wide open quarterback battle. Three guys that I would say again, if you're BYU, you're not giving out any information on this. You're going to let them go through fall camp, get through the scrimmages, hold that as close to the vest as you can, play at least two of them when you play against Sac State, and really would not be surprised if you see them play multiple quarterbacks in the month of September.
Oh, that's great stuff. That's super interesting. All right, a couple more for you before we get out of here. Utah, right? As far as the odds makers are concerned, They got as good a chance as anybody to win the Big 12. Now, I know you saw Evan Dampier at New Mexico working, calling games for CBS. Is he the guy? Like is he that good where he could step in? I mean, because that situation last year was a nightmare for Utah quarterback. So nowhere to go but up. But is he the guy that can move them forward?
Yeah, for me, in terms of quarterbacks that have moved around in the offseason, this was one of my favorites because Devin Dampier's game, going back to his time at Nevada, or excuse me, at New Mexico, this is a dynamic athlete, 1,100 yards and 19 touchdowns on the ground last year. And when you think about Utah, right, this is a defense first program generally, and they take care of the football. They want to grind you down, and they play a physical brand of football. And to me, Devin Dampier matches that on the other side. He is a dynamic athlete. He is a physical quarterback. And I think you're going to see Utah continue to lean on him running the football. But to me, I thought this was a puzzle piece that fit in really nicely with Utah. And one of the things about Dampier, I think he makes good decisions with the football in the passing game as well. Would not be surprised if you see them really be even more of a run first offense this season. And I loved this for Utah. And like you mentioned, Pete, this shored up a position that last year at carousel, and what a mess that was. I think this solves that for Utah this season.
All right, one more football question for you. Obviously, you don't want to say the cupboard's bare at Colorado, but a couple big ticket items are out of there, right? In Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders, Caden Salter comes to town. What is your excitement level around him, and what's the reality that he can step in there and pick up where Shador left off?
Yeah, I'm as curious as anybody else with Caden Salter because I had him the last two seasons at Liberty, and in 2023, I thought he was one of the best quarterbacks, not only certainly in the Group of Five, but he was one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the country. Last season, he was banged up a little bit, was dealing with a little bit of an ankle, and I felt like he regressed. I felt like you lost a little bit of that. What had the magic that he had in 2023 when he kind of came on the scene? They were missing a little bit of that in 2024 with him at Liberty. So I think he's flashed and he's had enough success from his time at Liberty where if you're a Colorado fan, you have a lot to still be excited about. But which version of Caden Salter do you get? If you get that 2023 version, man, you got a lot to be excited about if you're a Buffaloes fan. But I would imagine he's fully healthy at this point, and can he return to that form? I think is what everybody should be paying attention to.
All right, a lot to be excited about talking with Taylor McHargue. Dude, thank you so much for taking the time, and let's link back up here soon. I got to get some more out of you as we head towards football.
Absolutely, Pete. Thanks for having me on.
All right.